Okay folks, as promised, here is my pecan, if I can talk right, my pecan fudge recipe. It's a pretty simple recipe. The most complicated thing is you gotta make the condensed milk for it. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go over the ingredients, and then the camera view is gonna change. I'm just gonna hold you and show you the view in the skillet as it's cooking. That way you know what the milk should look like when it's through and that type of stuff. I know you won't see this beautiful mug in front of you, but for fudge, it's a sacrifice I'm sure you're willing to make. So let's go to the ingredients real quick and then we'll switch the views around. So what I got here is, this is Thai Kitchen Organic unsweetened coconut milk. It takes 2 cans of this. Everything, the liquid, the cream, everything in there. We're going to add in some vanilla. And for the chocolate, we got 1 complete bar of this Baker's here. This is unsweetened, 100% cacao. This is what you want. We got our sweetener, so what I got here is I just got some monkfruit that I put in my little coffee grinder and turn it into powder, as it will dissolve better. Of course, we got some pecans. The pecans, what I'm going to do with the pecans is just, I've got a loaf pan there with some parchment paper in the bottom, that way the fudge comes out of it easier. I'm just going to put a layer of these pecans right in the bottom of that thing, and then we're going to pour the fudge over it. But so yeah, I won't show you to put the pecans in the pan because I'm sure you can do that. So anyway, it's as many pecans as you want. That's how much you put in there. And I also got 2 tablespoons of really good butter. This is salted butter. I like salted butter. That way I ain't got to add salt to it. So yeah, it's 2 tablespoons of salted butter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera around so you can see what's going on in this pan. And I will be right back. Okay folks, here we go. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to throw this nice little dollop of butter here in the skillet and let it start to melt. These are some new pans I got from Costco. They are supposed to be, you don't need any kind of oil or butter in to fry with, but I still add a little bit. You know, keto, we need that fat. So we're going to let this melt real quick. And you want to just put this on to start with, just a medium heat. You don't want things too hot because you don't want the butter to burn. We want it to brown a little bit, but we don't want it to burn. So I will go ahead and do this here. It is melting real good. Once it all gets melted, then I'll turn the heat up just a little bit just to brown the butter. And then after the butter is browned a little bit, we're going to throw in the coconut milk there. And then we're going to cook it, add a little bit of sweetener, and just keep cooking it and boiling it until we get a nice condensed milk. I'm not going to make you guys watch the whole process because it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to condense the milk. But I'm going to show you the basics and then cut it back on when the milk is to the thickness that it needs to be. And so, but just so you know that when you are making the milk and condensing it, you want to make sure you are constantly stirring it. I mean, you want to stop maybe 10 seconds at a time, but keep stirring it all over the skillet because you don't want this stuff to burn. And it can, once it starts to get thick, it happens really fast. So yeah, this is not something you can walk away from. Okay, so all of our butter is melted here. Now just give it a few minutes to cook here. I like to get a little foam on top of it. You can see where it gets white. I like a little bit more foam than that. And so when that gets done, then I'll put in the coconut milk. Okay, that is good. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw in that coconut milk. I mean, this is really good thick. It's unsweetened. For this whole can, there is 5 carbs per can, so that's 10 carbs total from the coconut milk. And I believe the chocolate, it has for the whole block, it has 8 grams, and so the total carb count for this is only 18 grams of carbohydrates. And so when you make this fudge, you just take and multiply how many pieces that you cut this fudge into. You don't multiply, you divide the total carbs by the many pieces you get out of this, and that is your carbs per piece of fudge. And I'm usually averaging about a half a gram of net carbs per 1-inch square piece of fudge. This is quite the large batch. So, I mean, if you didn't want to make such a large batch, you can just use 1 can of coconut cream. You know, you just half everything. Okay, that is all emptied out there. We're going to give that a good stir. Get that all mixed up. And if you want to make this dairy-free, technically you didn't have to use butter. You can use a coconut oil if you want to, or even ghee, because I know my wife is lactose intolerant, but she can take ghee and don't mess with her. So if that was your issue with the lactose problem, ghee is really good. But if you're lactose intolerant, if you don't do dairy at all, I know some people don't, you can add like a coconut oil in there in place of the butter. Or you could probably just leave the butter out if you wanted to. But the butter gives it that nice flavor. It's just, we're adding some more fat to it. Okay, so that's mixed up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add half of the sweetener. It's just a half a cup of powdered monk fruit I get at Costco. I just add it half a cup at a time. That way it dissolves better, it don't clump up. If you are using like your stainless steel pan for this, you can use a whisk to do this. But since this is not stainless steel, I don't want to scratch it all to pieces, so I'm just using a rubber or spatula as folks refer to them. And they just start to steam. Okay. Now I'm going to add the rest of the sweetener. Well, probably not all of it. I'm just going to make this batch a little bit less sweet, so it wasn't quite half a cup. There's like 3 tablespoons of sweetener left in the cup there. And so what I'm going to do after it just gets all fudgy and it becomes fudge, I'm just going to taste it a little bit, see if it does need sweetener, and then if it does, I'll add some then. And also, if you like the really dark chocolate, this is 100% cacao, the chocolate bar is, but if you like extra dark chocolate, because this is going to kill the taste of the dark chocolate a little bit, you can just add a little bit of cacao powder in there, unsweetened, just 100% cacao powder, and that will give it that extra dark flavor. And I might even do that, but I'm not sure. I'll think about why this is cooking down. And so the vanilla, we're not going to put the vanilla in until it comes off the heat, because since I ain't got a vanilla bean or a vanilla paste, I am using just regular, as you can hear, the McCormick vanilla extract. And it is, even though it is pure vanilla extract, it's still got some alcohol in there. And so if you put it into the heat, it's going to take and burn all the alcohol off, and so you're not going to get that nice strong vanilla flavor that you want in there. And so we're going to put that in there at the very last. And so I'm going to continue cooking this, and when it comes to the thickness that it should be, I'll come back and show you what it looks like in the pan. And then after it does get that thickness, we're going to set it aside. It's got to come down, it's got to cool down to between about 110 to 115, no higher than 115 degrees. So, okay, I'm going to continue cooking this down, and then we will be back. Okay, this is about 15 minutes into the process. I'm just giving you a quick look at what the milk will start to look like. You can see it's starting to thicken up and get really bubbly. And this is just a pro tip. When you're making this stuff, I would suggest making it after your nightly dinner, because it smells fantastic, and so it's going to help you get the regular spicy cooking smells out of your house. And an extra benefit is that it does got to set up and refrigerate overnight, and so you'll be sleeping while you're waiting on this delicious goodness. So just a couple pro tips there. Okay, I will be back. This should take probably about another 5 minutes, and I will be back then, and we'll continue. Okay, folks, this milk is condensed and ready. So if you do that, and when you can see that trail open up there, and it just takes a second to come back through like that, that is showing you that your milk is condensed enough, because this is scorching hot, and so as it cools, it's going to get thicker. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer this into a plastic bowl. Reason being is plastic does not conduct heat, so it'll help it cool down and it won't stay too hot. And also I can get the skillet starting to cool down, for all this stuff won't stick into it. So I am going to transfer this into a plastic bowl, and then we're going to cool it down to under 115 degrees. And after it gets to that point, we'll add the vanilla and we'll start adding the chocolate in. And I've already got the pecans laid here in the little loaf pan. And once we get everything mixed up and it gets to temp, we're just going to pour that right over the top, give it a good shake, and then it will set on the counter for about 20 minutes to finish cooling down, because you put something hot into the fridge, it's going to condense, it's going to be water, it's not going to be good. So, okay, I will get this into a plastic bowl and then I will be back and we will continue. Okay folks, I didn't have a plastic bowl, but I got my big old Pyrex glass measuring cup and that works fantastic. As you can see, the milk has come to a nice consistency. It is almost cooled down. So what we're going to do now, this is where we're going to add the vanilla. It's just going to be a tablespoon of vanilla I throw in here. There we go, just a tablespoon. And then we're going to mix that all up in there. And then after we get that, we'll check the temp again, because what happens if it's too hot, when you put in this chocolate, if the chocolate's too hot, the oil and the cacao that's in the chocolate will separate and it just becomes all, yeah, just something you don't want. So you just need to make sure that it's the right temperature. So I got my little thermometer here. Let's see where we're at. Just give it about another 30 seconds and then it will be cool enough. And just keep stirring it. And if you don't want to put this in the refrigerator to try and cool it down, because you want this to cool down slowly, naturally. That way everything comes together and gets thick, because if it cools too quick, it's not going to come out right. It won't bond the way it is, because this is coconut milk. So there we go. Perfect. Now we're going to start adding in the chocolate. It should be just one more time. You know, you don't want to, I mean, you can still eat it, but it just don't set right if the temperature's off. Okay, we're at 108, perfect. That's below 115. And so we want to start by adding just half of the chocolate in at once. We're going to do this slowly, and if you notice the chocolate's chopped up really small, that way it melts quicker and faster. And so once you start putting in this chocolate, it's going to melt, and then it's going to start becoming fudge, and it will get thicker, and it just smells like, you know, you say that for later when nobody's looking, you can sample it. If you know what I mean. Anyway, but I did check for sweetness, and it is plenty sweet, so I did not add the rest of that sweetener in here. Most people like it sweeter than I do though, so that is fine. As you can see, it's becoming a nice fudge there. This is a light colored fudge, but like I said, if you like it really dark and you want it just color fudge, if this don't do it for you, just add a little cacao powder in there until it gets to your liking. Okay. And you want to make sure everything here is completely melted. I mean, it doesn't have to be complete. There could be, a few chocolate chunks in your fudge. It's kind of interesting. It's a little crunch. But remember, this is completely dark, 100% chocolate, so it's going to be bitter. Which, if you don't mind, which I don't, that's perfectly fine. We're going to continue mixing it. And it was going to continue to melt. And you see it's coming that nice, that is just, yeah. It is just fantastic. You know, and there was a comment about whether anybody had a recipe for peanut butter fudge. Well, if you want a peanut butter chocolate fudge, you can take this, and they make this, it's a powdered peanut butter. And you can throw like 3 or 4 tablespoons in here and mix that up, and it's going to give it that peanut butter chocolate flavor. I was thinking about doing that, but then I realized I didn't have that powdered peanut butter because it's very low carb. I mean, a couple of tablespoons is only going to add about 2 carbs, maybe 3 carbs at the most. And so that is, you can do that. I have never tried just to make straight peanut butter fudge because I just never liked it. But chocolate and peanut butter, you know, you can't go wrong there. Okay, we're almost getting there. There's still some chunks left in there. And it smells fantastic. Okay. It's almost there. Look at that. That's just beautiful. Yeah, the hardest thing about this recipe is the weight. And you got to remember though, even though it is keto, you can overdo it because 1 little square inch of this stuff, it's got a lot of fat, a lot of calories, and the carbs. But I guess you could just make this batch of fudge and just have it for your daily allowance of everything. And this is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh well. Okay, we are all melted up there, and it is ready to be poured into my little loaf pan here. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and scrape that off to make sure you get all of it. There we go. Put that down there. Just to make sure it's beautiful. Now what we're gonna do is just, I got the pecans in here. We're just gonna start pouring it over there. Just look at that, that is just, yeah. And once it all gets out there, we'll switch hands here. I can't do nothing with my left hand. So I'm going to take my little spatula here and make sure you break all of that out of there. You want all of it out. Yeah, so which is, just a little bit of effort, research, and experiments on the keto. You can have the things that you think you can't have, like the fudge. I'm also going to be putting up and you want to give this a good shake around to get everything in there nice. I'm also going to be doing a recipe for a candy bar. It's got coconut and pecans, it's burnt butter and chocolate. It is really good. Made some of it, it's got coconut. Made some of it, and at a small group, I had a couple of guys try it that do not like coconut. And even non-coconut people, they like it. So we're going to shake that down, get it all level as even as possible. Okay, that is in there. It's all in there. And when it's just finished, this is a 4x9 loaf pan. If you have like a little 8x8 brownie pans or whatever pan you got in there, but it's going to come out that thick, so it's about 1 inch high. And so we're going to set it here on the counter for another 15-20 minutes. Let it cool down again. You want to get it below 90 degrees before you put it in the fridge. And then after that, you just put it in the fridge and you just let it sit there and do its thing overnight if you can wait that long. But at least 3 to 4 hours, because you want it to set up good. And this is you can set it on the counter, but it's going to get real soft. So I suggest keeping, like all Fudge, in the refrigerator. That way it stays a nice texture and nice consistency. But anyway, folks, when this is all cooled down in the fridge and everything, we're going to come back. I'm going to pull it out of there, cut it up, and show you what it looks like. Until then, which a couple seconds for you, it's going to seem like a lifetime for me. I will see you then. Okay, folks, the fudge is set up. It is ready to be cut up. So let's go ahead and see what we got. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and take it right on out of here and set it right on the countertop. As I got the granite, so that's cold, it's not going to melt. As you can see, folks, this is set up really nice. It is non-sticky to the table, off the paper. Just give it a little bit of pull up. There we go. Okay, I got my knife here, and I'm just going to cut this now and see how it goes. I like a big knife. That way you don't want to saw back and forth. This big blade knife here goes right down through it. So we're going to try to make these about 1 inch square, or give or take. Here's one. Just keep on cutting it. There we go. Go ahead and set this out of the way. So we got, what is this? 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. There is about 20 pieces here, and so each one of these are going to have between a half to 0.5 to 0.7 grams carbs per piece. And as you can see, it came out nice and thick. I mean, there's pecans in there. It is just really, really tasty, delicious fudge. So yeah, there you go, folks. Fudge, keto, it's just fantastic. So I'm just going to put this all on the plate, and then I'll be back to wrap all this stuff up. Okay, folks, so there you have it. This is my keto fudge. It's almost dairy free. The only dairy in there is a couple tablespoons of butter. But if you don't want to put the butter in there, you don't need the butter in there, and it will be completely dairy free. So, I mean, this is diabetic friendly. It is keto friendly. I mean, you can give this to your child, and it won't make them too hyper. Chocolate's got some caffeine in there, so it is going to be, might make them a little hyper. And if you can see, this is just like fudge. I mean, you can't tell difference. I mean, this stuff eats fantastic. It would just. Oh, you're still here? Oh, okay. So anyway, folks, that's my fudge. Try it, like it, let me know how you like it. And if you will, please share it with somebody you know that's, I mean, they don't have to be on the keto. If they're diabetic and you're looking for some good sugar-free treats once in a while, share it with them. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, folks, God bless and good eats.